All right, guys, I'm set up here in my pie station in my dining room. You can probably hear my dogs eating. Hi, baby. All right, because this is tricky and I want us to think about this together. So here is my board, and this is what I've got going on to get my buttons wired, because I realize the components that we have are very different than what we're seeing in that pie tutorial. So this is to help you. So some of this should already be familiar. Yours might not be exactly set up the way that this is here, but however you have your LED lights, and you probably have more than 3, we've got those connected to GPIO pins. So I have my red, blue, and green lights here, and I've got 220 ohm resistors over here, kind of closing that circuit. So these are then connected to ground, which is coming back up to this wire, which is then connected to ground on my GPIO board. Okay, so that's just my wiring. Now, I've got 3 buttons that I'm gonna talk us through tonight down here in the lower part of my board. You don't have to do all 3, but I think it's kind of fun to see what's here and play with them a little bit. So I have this one, and I just made notes. This is a momentary switch, unless we program it to be otherwise, which we can do. But with this momentary switch, so like this is on in one way, and then like when I'm holding it down, I'm closing the circuit or opening it. It's not a switch that like naturally does other things. So that's a momentary switch, and then so is this little cute little guy, this little baby tiny switch, a little momentary switch. The other type of button or switch, and these are buttons or momentary switches that you might play with this is pretty cool, is this little toggle switch. So he's got 3 pins, and you can see that I have him here, and he can kind of be on or off, on or off. All right, so let's talk about how I have these wired right now. I just have these all down in these channels, okay? So the little, this little toggle guy, he's got 3 pins, and then these are 2. Notice that I am using resistors on all of these. And my understanding is this: resistors can come anywhere in our current, anywhere in our circuit loop. Like they could come before, or like they could come on this side or on this side. They can come between the LED light and this jump cable, or they could come between the LED light and ground. So there was some confusion about where they needed to be in our circuit, and as long as the resistor is in the circuit, it should work. I'm still learning about that too. That's my understanding. So like right now, I'm using these resistors almost like jump wires, and I'm doing that because I don't want to blow out my buttons. So if I'm using this, I'm using these same 220 ohm resistors on my buttons, and I'm using them to jump power so that I can power my buttons. So notice that these resistors are in the positive rail. Do you see that? I've got my resistors jumping over to my buttons on the positive rail. This resistor for my toggle switch is jumping to the middle one. So this has 3 pins. Sorry, this is really hard to do and hold the phone at the same time. 1, 2, 3, like this, and go in. I need like a tripod or an extra set of hands. And so then I'm powering it in the middle. And then up at the top, what I'm doing, guys, is I'm jumping power from the 3.3 volts over here. All right. So I'm jumping power to my positive power rail, to my high positive power rail, and my buttons are connecting to positive power with resistors. I'm jumping ground to, oh, sorry, that's my thumb, ground to the negative rail, and that's what's closing my circuits on my LEDs, because they're going to be drawing circuits and power from their GPIO pins. GPIO pins can provide power, but because I'm using these as switches, like on or off, they're kind of coming in between. Now, what I'm choosing to do, just to test different things out, is I've just kind of got one long jump wire, and I've got him running into GPIO pin 26. And what I'm gonna do is sometimes just like change out what I'm testing so I can move it. So like it needs, trying to hold this the right way. Like I need it to be in the same row as this little leg, right? But if I move it here, then I can be practicing with this button. If I'm working with the toggle switch, I can choose to put it in the upper or in the lower part. And this one would have to be on this side because see, I'm not bridging the trench here. So right, I need it to be over here. And then the same thing with this one, he could be in the upper. Okay, so let's just try something simple. In fact, I'm just gonna pause and then come back and say, I'm gonna make a second video with Scratch, and you can pause this at any point. And with my first one, I'm just going to work with this button. All right, so I've got my white cable GPIO pin just connecting up. I'm in GPIO port 26. As long as you know what port you're in, you're fine. And then I'm connected, I'm using a resistor to jump and close the circuit over to power. Power is coming up, and I'm connecting that over to the 3.3 volts. So this is what my wiring is looking like. Okay. All right, guys, so now I'm in Scratch, and I'm sorry that this is pretty lame. Like, I'm just holding my phone and recording the screen because I don't have, like, I don't know, screen recording and everything set up, but we're gonna be fine. We're just gonna rock this out. So there's 2 extension libraries that you need to have in play. I think most of you already do, but if not, you need this Raspberry Pi GPIO library and the Raspberry Pi Simple Electronics library. So we want to be sure we've got both of those so that we have these blocks down here. So let's just start with a simple one. We're going to turn an LED light on when a button is pressed. So let's try that. I'm just going to test this out. So I've got this in GPIO 26. I've just got a button. I'm going to try to turn on, what LED light do I have? I'll try to turn on my blue light, which I have in 17. All right, so when it's pressed, this should come on. So I'm coming over here to test it and see if that will work. And it doesn't. And I think it's because these are not Raspberry Pi buttons. I think that's what's happening here. So I tried that earlier and it didn't work before either. But I wanted you to see kind of why and what button should. So let's trash that button. And let's do this one instead. When GPIO 26 is set to high, and my understanding is that's the same as like on or powered. So like when that's set to high, we're gonna turn LED 17. Is that right? Let me just double check. I'm checking my own stuff, checking my own life. Okay, that should be my blue light on. So now let me try. No soup. I love it when I'm winning. GPIO 26 is high. Turn GPIO 17 on. Why don't you turn on? I'm coming back. Hey! So really just like one of my resistors wasn't pushed in all the way, all right? So my blue light's on. When GPIO 26 is high, turn LED 17 on. Like that seems to be working now. But it's not like turning off, right? So it's just kind of like this, which isn't really what we want. So let's think about this. If I then say when GPIO 26 is low, let's try turning it off, right? Doop de doop. And of course you can make this more complex. Okay, so now are we working? These are the most embarrassing videos I've ever done. This looks right. I thought this was right. All right, I'm not giving up, neither are you. Here we are. So I'm not sure exactly what was happening there. I'm still learning and figuring that out. But this is what I do know, is that if we turn our attention, here's my light shining, instead of on and off to our friend toggle LED, then we're gonna have some success, I do hope. So we're gonna understand in time why things are and aren't working, but let's just kind of see where I am. I've still got my friends all here, and now I've kind of got this green flag so that I can turn everything off if I want to. But now when this is high, I'm going to toggle LED 17. So I should on, off. Toggle means like go back and forth, right? And so then I should also be able to test out my other buttons, and my code really doesn't have to change. So I'm keeping 26 high. I'm toggling LED 17. So let's try it with my switch. Oh yeah, he's got to be on this side, right? Because he's not bridging the trench. Sure, let's put him here. Toggle. This, okay, there we go. Oh, that's right. So he's not acting like an on-off switch because I've only got, so only when he's in the up position, that's a toggle. 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 Does that make sense? So we could program this in a different way. We could have another GPIO pin running to the bottom down here, but that's too much for tonight. All right, and then let's try my last button. So I'm gonna bring it up and connect him right here. So for this project, I think toggle is our friend, right? And so let me just go nuts and see if I can do some fun things like do them all three at once. I've got 17. I've got 27. I need a cameraman. No, I don't want to turn it on. I want to toggle it. And where's my last one? I'm in 22. They should like, why is that a little satisfying, guys? A little bit. I'm gonna come up and use my green flag and turn everybody off. So now we should be toggling in unison. I can switch out and come back down to my switch. And you don't have to show me multiple buttons. I just think it's neat to kind of see how you can use the breadboard to test out different things without, you know, like rewiring from scratch, right? Oh, couldn't win for the night. How come, baby? What's the matter? Do you want to go down there? I don't know what, so I'll show you what I did in case you're having trouble with this too. Look at this. This leg is happy. Even though my resistor's up in this corner, right? So if you feel like you're gonna vomit because I'm a bad camera person, I'm sorry. So I'm jumping to the higher leg up here with my resistor so that I don't overload my circuit. Positive, up here. And this lower guy works. But the higher guy, which I think would work, just like leaves it on all the time. So I need to better understand that button. I think the same is true up here. I think that like the low guy gives me nothing. But if I come up to the high leg, I have winning. So if you're having trouble with your buttons, try flipping between the high and low legs. and see if that gives you, it looks like it's almost catty corner. It's like the opposite legs are working. I don't know why, but I'm going to find out. And then we're going to think about it together and we're going to grow smart together. All right, guys, I hope that's helpful to you. And I'm sorry if I bore you with my failures, but I like you to see them because, like, I'm not born knowing this stuff. And I'm quite confident that the code you write is going to be better than what I write. But I'm gonna drop it for here tonight. All right, cheers. Email me if you have any questions.